What would happen if you focused on one exercise for a whole month? 2 months, 6 months? What do you think the result would be? So in my instance, if I just focus on the squat and that is it for a good chunk of time, would my squat go up? Logic serves that it would, because the way I'm thinking about it right now is that if I was to only focus on one exercise and one exercise only, all of my recovery would go to recovering from that exercise. So if we say that anybody has 10 points of recovery, and if anybody was to train the squat, the deadlift, and the bench press equally, you would put maybe 3 or so points in each exercise to recover, in each basket to recover. And so logic would serve that then all of your exercises would, progress somewhat, but not to the same extent as if you were to put all of the 10 points into one basket or one exercise. This is what I'm thinking about right now. I'm thinking about just going bonkers on the squat. This 200 kilo squat has been eluding me for a little bit now. And I just want to get there. I want to break through the squat and beyond. That's what I'm thinking right now, and I don't know whether this is the right thing to do or not. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking if I increase my squat, a fair bit, my deadlift is not going to be suffering. My deadlift will be getting more benefit from the squat increase rather than anything. If you think about it, the first portion of the deadlift is always a push. If you can squat a good amount of weight, you can push. My problem has always been with the deadlift off the floor. So it only would serve, a good logical mind to think that if you improve your squat, you will be able to get off the floor in the deadlift a bit better. Anyway, I'm not a powerlifter. I'm not anything really. I'm just somebody that's trying to play with certain different, parameters and, keep fit, keep healthy. And so I don't really need to have a balanced physique, balanced powerlifting, total, all of that. I really want to focus on the squat. So I'm going to cut all the shit off and I'm just going to focus on the squat. You guys know from yesterday's video that I'm going to go quite hard with the squat. I'm going to do my usual routine and then I'm going to fail a top set. I want to feel a weight that I'm going to be soon repping out. So every single day, I'm going to basically go into an eccentric portion of the lift with a weight that probably I can't lift. And then I'm going to dump it. Why? Because I feel like there is benefits to be had there in terms of the central nervous system, just to get over the fear of racking a weight that's quite heavy. So that's where I'm at right now. So I'm going to focus for the next little bit just on the squat. I will be doing the good morning as well, just so I can keep my hips nice and stable. But that's it. Anyway, guys, I am up to 120 in the front squat, so let's resume. Oh, by the way, you guys can see what I've done here with some of the, I don't know what you call this, matting flooring, cheap flooring that I've had for many, many years. Basically, this flooring is there so I don't drop the bar purely on the concrete. There's a bit of shock absorption, so that's what this is. I just put some shit that I have lying around. Anyway, let me hit this 120 for 3. There we go, 120 for 3. $140 for 1 next. It's just a thought experiment. If you guys have ever been struggling with any lift and you feel like you're stuck, you're plateauing, the number one thing that makes sense is to increase the volume, increase the amount of work that you do for that lift. However, the other end of that equation is recovery. you can do too much volume and not recover, and then you start getting weaker. So for every action, there's a reaction, right? So you can't just endlessly increase a volume and expect for recovery to happen. So that's what I'm thinking about. What if I remove the deadlift and the bench press completely from the training? I'm not gonna do any push-ups, pull-ups, and none of that stuff. My number one goal is the squat right now, and that's all I care about. So if my heart is not into doing push-ups, if my heart is not doing into doing pull-ups, screw it, I'm not gonna do it at all. My goal is to improve the squat, and that's what I'm gonna do. So let's see how it goes. It's gonna be interesting. But I want to put all of my 10 points of recovery into that one basket. Now, if you're enhanced and you are taking all sorts of gear, whatever the gear might be, then you might have 20 points to your recovery. Also, if you eat a lot of food, if you get fatter, you might have, once again, more points to your recovery. If you sleep more, you have more points to recovery. I can, but I am somebody that does shift work. For instance, I have a night shift tonight. So I know for a fact I'm not gonna get, obviously, sleep, and I'm not gonna get good food. I'm not gonna get steroids into me. So I don't know if a natural athlete can maximize all 3 lifts optimally. I'm sure there is a way, I guess, if you're really into, you know, grand mastering of programming. But for somebody like me in my shed, I'm going to test this out and see whether this is going to work. I've never done this. I've never just done one thing and one thing only. When I started doing this program, I had, I think, 1 week, maybe 1.5 weeks of just purely squatting, and that was very, very little volume, trying to ease into it. So now I'm doing a hell of a lot of volume. Like, I've been doing sets of 20 up to 60 kilos and then 80 kilos for 10 reps. And you saw what I just did with 100 reps. So that's a whole lot of volume. And I just feared that if I was to now after this go do bench press and then some pull-ups, I mean, it only makes sense. It's only one system, it's one organism. So, you know, I don't have that much resources at hand to repair the whole freaking body that I've just demolished. So let's see how it pans out. All right, front squat, let's see what this moves like. All right, 150 next. As I've said to you guys before, one of my favorite things about training, man, by far, is experimentation. It's playing around with different parameters, getting a feel of what different parameters do. It's kind of like doing up your car, right? Like, maybe some of you guys are into cars and whatever, but if you have a car and you spend $20,000 doing everything at once, exhaust, cam, turbo, you know, internals, conrods, pistons, you do a map, you do a clutch, you do whatever else. You do everything for $20,000, so a shit ton of work. And then you get in there and you go, you're like, wow, that's incredible, it's going so quickly. You don't really have an intuition, a feeling of what each component did to your car. Whereas, in comparison, if you just did an exhaust, and then you drove that thing around for a couple of months, and you're like, well, okay, so I can see what the exhaust did. And then you come back and you put a set of cams, a nice set of cams. And you drive it, oh, that's really cool. Then you put a turbo, oh, that's really cool. And so, in a way, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to see through my training and my experimentation, what bit I change has the most amount of benefit, impact to training, to progression, to all of that. Now, if you change multiple different things at once, obviously logic would serve that you at the end of the day, you won't know what's what. So, I changed the volume. That's going really well. I feel like I'm adding size to my legs and I feel a lot more stable. My hips are feeling fantastic. Like there is not a slightest bit of pain in my hips. So that's really good. I added front squats. Once again, really feeling the pump in my legs and my upper back. Really good. Now I've got to a stage where I feel like, okay, let's progress this next thing. So what can I do next that's gonna take that training to the next level? And then I've sat back and I'm thinking to myself, let's prioritize my training. Let's become a specialist. I made a video called Specialize in a Lift, or whatever the title of that video was. And that's where the thoughts started happening. I started thinking about, what if I become a specialist in the squat? And I make the squat my cornerstone. Like, you know, it's exactly my go-to move. Right now, the squat and the deadlift are kind of like, whatever, and everything's kind of halting because I'm trying to do calisthenics, I'm trying to do push-ups, I'm trying to do pull-ups, I'm trying to do squatting, I'm trying to do this, that, the other. And I feel like I'm just spreading myself out too thin. Whereas if I just localize and just, you know, stick to one thing and one thing only, maybe my benefits will be, you know, a lot better. And then I develop a stronger organism because I've just mastered one move. And we all know that the squat is the king of exercise. There's transferability there for everything. Like I said to you, if you're really good with the squat, chances are you're going to be quite strong off the deadlift, off the floor in the deadlift. You might have some trouble after the knees because that's more kind of a glute area, hamstring area to kind of look that out. But, you know, let's work on something. Because right now I'm just weak off the floor in the deadlift. So it makes sense to just train the squat. Anyway, let me try this 150. I mean, this will go up, no doubt about it. It's just, I don't want to round too much. Let's try. All right, 150, I'm gonna call it there. I'm gonna take this weight now and do 150 in the back squat. That's what I did with 150 the other day. I did 150, I did it for 5, set of 5. All right, let's do it set of 5 again, or more. Let's see how it goes. I did it in 170 for 3. All right, let's try 150 for 5 and some. Let's see if I can push it a little bit. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how this fans out. All right, 150 for 7. That kind of moves all right. Oh, let's go with 170. The best thing about weight training is the oxygen debt. You have to huff and puff for a little bit to repay all that debt. And it's always retrospective, you know. While you're doing the reps, you feel not bad. But then there's like a 1.5 minute, 2 minute period where you're repaying all that debt. Must admit, 150 for 7, that might even be a PR, I don't even know. I've never cared about reps. Definitely in this program, it's a PR. In terms of all time, I'm not sure. I would have to look back into it and see. And then there was probably 1 or 2 more there, but happy with that. Now, 170, 170 for 3. I said that, didn't I? 170 for 3. A couple of days ago. Let's see what I can do with that. Still have a cough, man. Man, I tell you what, man, like, I remember back in the day when I used to get viruses, they used to knock me out for like, you know, 3-4 days. You know, bed bound kind of thing, you know, temperature, whatever. And then on the 5th, 6th day, I'm back to brand new. This damn thing, I never really felt that bad, but it's so long. Like, this is now 2 weeks going on, I still have a cough. I had the corona test, so don't freak out about that. It's negative. Yeah, working in an emergency department, you're exposed to so many bugs all the time. Like, you'd think your immune system is pretty good. You know, I don't get sick all that often, man, but I think a large part of my sickness is always this shit. And it's always around nights. Every single time I get sick, it's around nights. Like today, I guess, I'm doing the same shit again. Do a whole bunch of work, go back in the house, I don't get enough sleep, and then I go to work, I don't get enough food, have a busy night, and then talking about oxygen debt, I get debts in terms of the immune system, which I never repay. But anyway, now that I'm only doing this, I can push a bit harder in the squat. Okay, so 170, 3, I guess, and then we'll reassess after the 3rd rep to see where I'm at. Hopefully I can get 4 or 5. Let's see. Right, that's 4. 1 up from last time. All right, so 170 for 4 that was. Ah, man. So let's do 180 for 1. Knock that shit out so I feel more comfortable, and then we'll go 185, I guess. We're failing today, just so you know. We're not making out of this alive. Have to fail every day. Have to feel something heavy in my back every day. So I even thought to myself, why don't I freaking load 220 on the bar? Rack that shit up, hold it there. Feel the weight, axial load my spine, go into an eccentric, hold it in a hole for a little bit, and then dump it. I even thought about that. You know, you see the Chinese weightlifters always, you know, overload the front rack position. They put like 300 kilos, stupid shit like that. And then just bouncing with it like here. Just feeling that weight. It's central nervous system training, man. That's all this is doing. All right, let's go 180 for one or two. We'll see. See how it feels. Well, we're getting heavy. Let's go 180, 185. I feel tired now. You know, 185 is going to probably fail. I gotta sit down, man. I can't stand anymore. Have you guys ever tried that? Have you ever tried just doing one exercise and just focusing on one damn exercise? Because if you think about it, we can't recover from marathons every day. Why? Because it's too much volume. So people just measure individual exercise volumes and they go, oh yeah, you know, the squat's alright, blah, blah, blah. But what if you have a horrible volume on the bench press in the same exercise, in the same session? You're gonna feel quite tired systemically. Remember, you can't compartmentalize your body. Like, it's all one system. It all feeds into the same adrenal glands, into the same, you know, serotonin and all the other hormones that go on in the body. So, cortisol. So it only makes sense that, you know, when you are doing compound exercises and they're all big and strong, you know, exercises to do, bench press, overhead press, bench, squat, you know, the overhead press uses the core pretty much just as much as the squat, right? Like, you're fighting for balance, you're fighting to, you know, keep your spine in neutral. There are different types of forces, but essentially it's a whole body exercise. You know, you can also say the same thing for a bench press to a lesser degree, I guess, you know, because there's a stable bench behind you. But the deadlift as well, like, it's always, you know, keeping your spine in neutral while you're doing whatever movement you're doing. So it only makes sense that it's all gonna tax you. So anyway, I'm gonna give this a shot now. I'm only gonna squat, front squat, back squat, and I'm gonna do like maybe twice a week, good morning, 5 sets of 20 with a really light weight, just to make sure the hamstrings are getting some love, because I am frightened of imbalances in terms of the knee and the hip. I've been down that road before. I don't wanna mess around with that. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. What if you did the overhead press and only overhead press? Logic would serve that you would probably improve. You would improve. And what I'm saying here is that once you break through a barrier, that plateau, and you get a set amount of gains, I don't think you're going to be losing equal but minus on the other exercises. Especially if you're doing stuff like squats. Like I've already mentioned this before. The squat has carryover. It directly carries over to the deadlift. You know, it's the same amount of muscles used. It's just a different percentage of which muscles you use more. So it's not like you're bench pressing for 6 months and you're not doing anything in terms of the lower body. In that case, if you only did the bench press, I would assume that you would get pretty weak in the squat and the deadlift. But what if you just did the deadlift or the squat? You know, usually when people talk about the king of all exercises, the conversation is between those two. It's one or the other. Doesn't matter which camp you're in. You know, even if you said the deadlift, I wouldn't be too mad with you. I feel like it's the squat. But yeah, I don't know. Whatever you guys think about that, it'll be interesting. And whether you guys have had experience with this sort of shit. You know, only doing one exercise for a whole bunch of time. All right, let's see if I can make this 185. If not, we're gonna bail again. Bail. All right, just gonna make sure I throw it onto the damn, whatever you call them, stack of flooring, whatever, suspension system that I've created here. All right, 185. Hopefully I can make this and then fail on 190. That'll be good. All right. Jelly legs, though, I can tell you that. Am I in view? Yep. Beautiful. Thank God I didn't fail that. 190, come on. Maybe I should rest a little bit more. Maybe that was the secret. I'm always trying to rush the top sets. That's where you're supposed to be resting the most amount of time. But hopefully this plan works. If it works, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna continue doing it? Man, that's a good question. What if this miraculously gets me over 200 and some? You know, what do I do then? Do I go back to the normal routine where I do bench pressing and deadlifting and block pulling and rack pulls and whatever else people do? Like, I feel like people do a lot of different exercises. And if you think about the body, as a receiver of information, what are we trying to tell it, man? You know, 50 million exercises. I don't know, man, but you guys have probably already kind of understood that I'm a minimalist at heart when it comes to human movement. We all know that strength is the mother of all physical attributes. If you want to improve your speed, getting stronger will get you there. If you want to improve your power, getting stronger will get you there, because even if you want to run, getting stronger will get you there. Because if you think about every step in running, is a percentage of your maximum output for that particular gait cycle. Say it's a push, it's a squatting, you know, deadlifting kind of motion, right? You know, the reaching portion, I don't know the terminology of running, I'm not a runner at all, but the initial portion when you stick your leg out, that's kind of like a hip extension, like you're pushing the ground away, you're propelling yourself forward. That it mimics the deadlift, right? Like, because you are engaging the hamstring and the glutes to a great degree. So if you were to improve your deadlift, each stride when you're running is a percentage of your max deadlift. So if you increase your max, say by 50%, keep the numbers round, each stride in your run, in your gait, is going to be a smaller percentage of your max. So people have said this, I'm not making this shit up. People have said that, you know, when they put people on strength programs and they improve their squats, their running times improve. So strength is a mother of all physical attributes. But do we need 50 exercises to get that strength? You know, there's consensus that the deadlift and the squat are basically the best kings of strength development, at least for the whole body. So why do we complicate things? Why do we break up movements? It baffles me sometimes. I don't know. And powerlifting, when you're looking at it on paper, you're like, okay, there's 3 lifts there. I need to train each of these lifts equally. Or do you? What if you break up those 3 movements into 2? The upper body is the bench press, the lower body is the squat. The reason why I think the squat is better than the deadlift is because the deadlift doesn't really have a whole lot of, you know, knee flexion. You know, you basically don't go below 90 degrees in your knee angle, whereas with the squat you do. And especially if you're doing a low bar squat, you know, your knee gets the right angle and your hips get in the right angle. So there's a lot of turnover. What do you call it? Turnover. Well, I lost my word. There's a lot of transferability between the low bar squat and the deadlift, because you're leaning over more, so it kind of mimics the deadlift a little bit more. Whereas if you're high bar squatting, front squatting, you know, you're pretty much very vertical, and you can't really, you know, mimic the deadlifting portion of it. Anyway, I think I've rested enough. Let me try 190. Last few days I've actually failed this lift, so, and I'm still pretty tired, but screw it, no choice. All right, 190 on the bar. I generally know when I unrack if I'm gonna make the lift. Like, I just feel the weight on me. Perfect. It would have been a grinder if I decided to stick with it. But anyway, that's it guys, another day, another fail. It keeps making me laugh, that last bit. Anyway, catch you tomorrow guys.